The lawyer's name is Brian Friedman. He stopped by the Megyn Kelly show, and here's some of the things that he had to say.
I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing.
This text from Blake Lively is insane.
Blake Lively did not even read the
Finally,
book.
even that kind of a guy rises up. She has no one to blame but herself.
Blake Lively's own lawyer just spoke out, and it's worse than we thought. The buzz on social media is that Blake's attorney abruptly withdrew from her case at the very moment explosive new evidence surfaced.
If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth. What?
It's a crazy text.
What are you insinuating? Like, is that a joke?
Yeah.
I was blown away reading it.
Evidence so damaging, the lawyer apparently refused to go down with a sinking ship. Rumor has it that once she glimpsed the receipts from Justin Baldoni's legal team, she quietly stepped away, leaving Blake in a deeper crisis than anyone imagined. And here's the kicker. Insiders claim Blake's own conduct pushed her lawyer over the edge.
Text exchange between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni during the filming of It Ends With Us. Hey Blake, did you rewrite Lily's lines for today's scene? Oh yeah, nothing big though, just a few changes that I think better portray Lily's thoughts. That's cool, I don't mind, I trust you. Could you just let me know next time in advance? I want as much of a woman's perspective as possible. So do your thing, I just want to be kept in the loop. So Ryle is reacting to the right lines when we film. Gotcha.
From undisclosed truths to alleged temper tantrums. Yes, you read that right. Blake's problems may not just be about the other side having ironclad proof. She might have turned on her own counsel along the way, but buckle up, because the fallout is even more catastrophic than people realize. Imagine your closest legal ally suddenly washing their hands of you, after discovering your story might not hold up in court. Add to that the possibility that you may have insulted this ally or worse, withheld crucial facts, all while media outlets are turning against you.
Don't worry, you're still the director. No need to snap at me. So that passive-aggressive exchange was part of a text from May 15th, 2023, and then they sent each other voice memos. More things to come with this to see if the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni lawsuits go to.
It's the kind of perfect storm that spells doom in Hollywood, no matter how powerful you are. Allegedly, Blake's soon-to-be ex-legal rep didn't just see a shaky case. She witnessed backstage drama that could destroy reputations. And ironically, Ryan Reynolds, who's been tethered to Blake's side all these years, is making moves to shield himself from the legal blowback. This meltdown is spiraling, and we're about to dissect every messy detail.
I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man, but he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man. And then she continued, she took that stiletto and stuck it in his heart when he was down there self-flagellating, being so sorry for anything having to do with his own. And so that's what happens to you.
Word on the street is that once Justin's legal team dropped a cluster of receipts, people inside Blake's camp realized her lawsuit was on life support. There was no defending it without, as some sources claim, fabricating entire narratives. The big shocker? It's alleged that Blake had kept secrets from her own lawyer, painting a rose-colored version of events that didn't match the cold, hard evidence.
The lawyer's name is Brian Friedman. He stopped by the Megyn Kelly show, and here's some of the things that he had to say. First, he says there used to never be a sexual claim. There never was a sexual claim until she went to that civil rights office.
When the real story started surfacing, so did the panic. Suddenly, that lawyer you thought was your ride or die, gone. And that's only the beginning of a downward spiral that's making all of Hollywood whisper. This is not your everyday Hollywood feud. Apparently, the stakes are so high that Justin's legal team is refusing any talk of a hush-hush settlement. This one's going to court, and it's shaping up to be more dramatic than a soap opera marathon.
But it just seems to me that the Team Lively side has been caught really quite flat-footed on this whole thing, and yet they're the plaintiffs. They're the ones who had all the time in the world to prepare this before they filed.
Meanwhile, Blake's own world is imploding. The media, once convinced of her innocence, have witnessed the receipts and are starting to question her entire narrative. And in an even wilder twist, Ryan Reynolds wants out of the lawsuits, demanding to be removed as if to say, "I'm not going down with this ship."
She claims to have, had all of this ready even when the initial New York Times article was published, right? They claimed that they published this information because they had thousands and thousands and thousands of pages that they reviewed of evidence, and that's why they felt confident publishing this article. I didn't believe that there was, even 50 pages of information that they reviewed, but that's my own personal opinion. But it's where's the 1,000 documents that they reviewed?
But let's rewind a bit. Initially, Blake had stepped forward with a very public lawsuit, accusing Justin of all sorts of wrongdoing, with big-name publications like the New York Times apparently standing behind her claims at breakneck speed. She must have felt unstoppable, right? She had a top lawyer, she had major outlets championing her cause, and public sympathy on her side. Yet all it took was Justin unloading document after document of behind-the-scenes proof, and suddenly the tide shifted. People read the text messages, saw the behind-the-scenes footage, and realized that what they'd been told might have been exaggerated, maybe even outright false.
Then you run into somebody who seems like a witch who will take advantage of you and hurt you until finally even that kind of a guy rises up. Now, he didn't do it himself exactly. He hired a badass named Brian Friedman. And he has badass women like me defending him. But slowly but surely, I think the male class is learning down on the floor, squirming and apologizing for being a man is not the way.
The real kicker is that Blake's questionable actions didn't just stay private, between her and the lawyer. Allegedly, she was borderline abusive, poking at her lawyer's skills, refusing to pay bills on time, and talking down to the one person meant to save her from legal oblivion. Whispers say it was so humiliating that her attorney did everything in her power to remain professional until it was obvious that no sense of professionalism could salvage a case built on smoke and mirrors.
Lively's motion, which was obtained by Yahoo, slammed Baldoni's vengeful and rambling lawsuit. I mean, just reading this, it is like venom. It is so disgusting, especially with all the evidence that we know. And just the idea that someone can just claim harassment falsely, ruin someone's life, or falsely claim sexual assault, ruin that person's life, and that person should just lie down and take it. Nothing can be done about it.
The moment Justin's team signaled they were about to publicly reveal excruciating details, the lawyer vanished from Blake's side like a ghost. It's no wonder that many in Hollywood are comparing Blake's behind-the-scenes meltdown to a badly written drama, because the layers keep peeling back. It's not only this epic legal war that has eyes rolling, it's also the skeletons in Blake's closet that are re-emerging.
It was a sinister PR move. Blake Lively then moved 11 days later to file a lawsuit. So now she has filed a lawsuit, and I don't think she ever wanted to do this. I think she genuinely wanted this to be a PR move, and she wanted to leak it to the New York Times. She thought the public would take her side with no questions asked. And instead the public is saying, no, we have a few questions here. And Justin Baldoni is going all the way to the wall on this. His lawyer is already giving interviews explaining just how nasty her team has played this.
Over the years, co-stars and industry insiders have hinted that she can be downright mean when the cameras aren't rolling. That side of her seems to conflict with the glam, sweet persona she sells on red carpets. Now, videos of her supposedly throwing shade at interviewers and mocking colleagues are resurfacing all across social media. Fans who once adored her are left in shock, and critics are saying, "We told you so." Some folks wonder if that's partly why so many big players, lawyers, perhaps even longtime collaborators, are washing their hands of her.
Blake Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. And then she wanted to, ixnayed all of the wardrobe choices, because when you're making a movie about a poor woman who's suffering from domestic violence, you want her to look like she has money.
Right.
That Blake said.
That's what she did.
She looks like she has money.
Yep.
And she's dressing in florals. And then she's going on this press tour, pushing her liquor line and her hair care line, because that's what women who are trying to escape with their lives are worried about.
That's what generated her negative press and led to a series of clips of her being insensitive in one way, shape, or form with other interviewers in the past. She has no one to blame but herself for that.
The press tour is part of that pay package.
Right.
You have to show up with a smile on your face and be polite to people who are not lobbing, difficult questions at you. They're softball.
Then there's that fiasco with the New York Times. The piece they ran on Justin practically branded him as some Hollywood villain. blasting him right out of the gate with sensational claims about a smear machine. The glaring problem is that the article showed signs of unseemly bias, painting Justin as guilty before the ink on Blake's lawsuit had dried. People started questioning how the New York Times put out such a deeply researched story less than 24 hours after the suit was filed. Did they have privileged info from Blake's camp? Did someone feed them select documents and quotes well in advance? The Times denies any wrongdoing, but the circumstances look awfully suspicious.
Movie. She was hired to act in this movie.
Yes.
And we know now from so many texts and emails, she wanted to take over this project. Yes. She needed some way to recover. And the way she thought in her mind was this insane lawsuit, okay? And maybe he did make her uncomfortable. I don't know. I wasn't there. There. But the thing you have to know before you do this is, how are you perceived in your industry? And the one time they worked with Ryan, he was a jerk, and the one time they worked with Blake, she was the worst, and they're all gonna come out. If you have a great reputation,
they think they're great people. You see, people that are egos and like narcissistic like that, they think there's nothing wrong with them. They're the best.
Don't see it, and they aren't aware of their reputation. If you have a great reputation, everyone's gonna come out and support you. What does it say that your best friend, Taylor, has not come out to defend you?
Justin, for his part, wasn't about to let that slide. He blasted the New York Times in his own legal filing, accusing them of going beyond typical journalistic coverage into full-on collaboration with Blake's narrative. He claims the Times effectively co-signed her version of events, and by doing so, damaged his career and personal life. For a moment, you could almost see the unstoppable machine that Blake had behind her, except now that machine has started to sputter. Instead of a citywide ticker tape parade in her honor, Blake finds herself cornered by revelations of contradictory text messages, redacted HR complaints with questionable timestamps, and co-stars stepping forward to say, yeah, she can be a nightmare behind the scenes. So let's talk about those so-called redacted bits. People suspect that the reason dates and names were obscured from the HR complaints was because they would reveal some awkward truths that Blake was trying to hide. Possibly she was cherry-picking details out of context, rewriting the timeline to fit her narrative. The moment Justin revealed messages that directly clashed with her account, it became clear that her evidence wasn't as straightforward as she'd implied. That's the kind of slip that's turning even her most loyal supporters into skeptics. Now add the rumor that her own lawyer discovered the extent of these holes in her story, confronted her about it, and was met with insults and deflections. That's the nuclear meltdown we're dealing with here, folks. Ryan Reynolds isn't exactly emerging unscathed. While his public image remains squeaky clean to many, Justin's legal team is saying that Ryan had a more active hand in orchestrating attacks on Justin's character than he lets on. But apparently Ryan wants to be dismissed from the legal drama, like he's trying to wave a wand and vanish from the battlefield. Justin's lawyer is going, "Not so fast," and claims there's plenty of proof that Ryan was intimately involved in these alleged smear tactics behind the scenes. They're labeling Ryan's attempt to exit as lighting a match and then running away from the flames. In short, the entire Lively Reynolds brand is being dragged into a confrontation that no PR spin can easily fix. The question is, how did it all get this messy? Well, for starters, insiders claim Blake got used to everyone around her praising her, succumbing to her demands. So when Justin put up a fight, she might have thought she could bulldoze right over him, using hush money, a PR machine, and star power to bury his side of the story. But apparently Justin had enough evidence and a tough enough backbone to fight back, and now people aren't dancing to Blake's tune. The cracks are showing, and her meltdown is only intensifying. Let's not forget the shocking interviews that have begun popping up, where Blake jokes about serious subjects or throws off snarky asides that leave her co-stars visibly uncomfortable. Sure, she tries to play it off as dry humor, but repeated incidents plus behind-the-scenes stories from colleagues paint a different picture. Many are saying this is who she truly is, someone who's either oblivious to the emotional weight of her words or simply doesn't care. Any illusions of America's sweetheart fade away when clips of her trivializing serious topics resurface. That might be the reason why she's got so few people in her corner right now, especially in a case this explosive. But as messy as all that is, the real meltdown is in the legal arena. Reportedly, Blake's attorney started noticing how the timeline of events and the evidence in their possession wasn't matching up with what Blake had originally told them. Worse yet, this lawyer was said to be receiving constant pressure from multiple directions. On the one side, she had to keep a positive relationship with the judge and the court, which requires honesty and consistent evidence. On the other side, she had a client who was either withholding material facts or twisting them. Could you imagine being stuck in that position, with the other side about to drop bombshell after bombshell? It's no wonder the attorney might have felt her entire reputation was on the line. Allegedly, after one final straw, maybe a big revelation from Justin's team or a meltdown from Blake, the lawyer said, "Enough," cut ties, and vanished. Meanwhile, Justin's lawyer, Brian Friedman, has been extremely vocal in condemning not just Blake, but also Ryan and the big media outlets who hopped on her narrative. Friedman suggests there is absolutely no chance of a settlement. He's basically telegraphing that the only real path to clearing Justin's name is a public fight in court, so a jury can see how the puzzle pieces fit together. Friedman also wonders if it's possible to put a dollar amount on the damage done to Justin. Sure, you can throw money at the problem, but the harm to Justin's relationships, reputation, and mental well-being isn't easily undone. That's not the kind of wound that a quick settlement can heal, and if you're thinking, maybe Blake can find another lawyer to pick up the pieces, you wouldn't be the only one. But who would want to represent a client entangled in so many contradictions? Especially now that so many potential holes in her story have come to light? The rumor mill is spinning that she's desperately casting around for representation, but big firms are wary of her track record of belittling her counsel and, let's be real, apparently not paying them on time. Plus, the avalanche of negative media attention is only growing. If anything, a new lawyer might make the entire fiasco look even more suspicious. Like she's hopped from lawyer to lawyer because no one can build a stable defense from her half-baked story. The extra plot twist in all this is how Ryan, typically the Hollywood golden boy, has gotten entangled. Friedman alleges Ryan was actively pressuring the talent agency WME to abandon Justin, effectively punishing him for not rolling over. The second that piece of information became public, watchers realized that maybe Ryan's "I'm the good guy, I just make cheeky commercials" facade wasn't telling the whole story. People are hungry to see if Friedman can produce the receipts that prove Ryan's deeper involvement. If so, it's going to be a PR nightmare for a brand that's usually so carefully managed. Meanwhile, the so-called mean girl stories about Blake keep piling up. She's described by some as someone who fosters cliques on set, forcing people to side with her. Some claim that on the "It Ends With Us" production, she tried to usurp creative control, basically wanting to overwrite Justin's decisions and even rewrite scripts behind his back. Who does that? Well, apparently, Blake. It's also rumored that she tried to buy off certain media coverage to depict Justin as incompetent and manipulative, all while complaining about him doing exactly that to her. This double standard has folks shaking their heads, especially now that the evidence points to her being the one controlling the narrative from the shadows. There's speculation that she even dangled exclusive interviews to the press for favorable coverage. But as we see, that strategy can unravel once the other side has digital receipts proving you were orchestrating a smear campaign. All of this, blistering press statements, last-minute lawyer exits, alleged behind-the-scenes bullying, paints a picture of a star who might have overreached, confident she could twist reality to her advantage. And now it's all boomeranging back to her in the nastiest way. With even her own attorney bailing, you can't help but wonder how this star-studded fiasco will end. Because once you're caught in major contradictions, it's nearly impossible to re-establish trust with the public, let alone a court of law. And if her legal representation is running for the hills, that might be the most damning red flag of all. At this point, it appears the only certain thing is that Justin and his team aren't backing down. Their stance is clear. They want an official verdict. They want people to see how the puzzle pieces fit together, presumably showing that Blake orchestrated a massive deception. Settling behind closed doors wouldn't vindicate Justin. It would only bury the story and let speculation fester. That's not how you reclaim your life after being dragged through the mud in a media blitz. As for Blake, the question looms. Will she find a new lawyer to stand up for her under these circumstances? Or is this the end of her ill-fated legal crusade? Meanwhile, Ryan stands at the sidelines, apparently desperate to keep his name off legal documents. But there might be no escape if Friedman can prove Ryan actively participated in whatever vendetta was hatched. So, is this the final chapter in Blake Lively's feud with Justin Baldoni? Or are we about to see new bombshells? Judging by how determined Justin's legal team is, we haven't reached the grand finale yet. And let's not forget, the public's perception of Blake is devolving by the minute as more behind-the-scenes footage and questionable behavior surface online. Her brand is tarnished, her circle of enablers is shrinking. Even Hollywood bigwigs who used to worship her style and star power might decide the risk of working with her isn't worth the headache. If Blake planned on using her star status to steamroll Justin's credibility, she might have miscalculated in the worst possible way. The big question everyone's asking, what does Blake do next? Does she double down, hire a new lawyer, continue this fight, and risk more embarrassment if more receipts come out? Or will she wave the white flag, hoping to salvage whatever remains of her image and cut her losses? One thing is sure, if you're a celebrity in Hollywood and you can't keep your own legal counsel on your side, you're probably in deeper trouble than anyone knows. And apparently for Blake Lively, that trouble is already playing out in front of the entire world. As for Justin, he might emerge from this with the ultimate vindication. The lawsuit he's filing against the New York Times and the Lively-Reynolds duo is rumored to be worth hundreds of millions, reflecting not just the financial damage but the personal harm done to his reputation. It's a high-stakes gamble, but if Friedman genuinely has the goods, and from all accounts he very well might, then the scales could tip drastically in Justin's favor in court, and that, my friends, would be the final blow to the Lively legal fiasco. Stay tuned, because the next wave of revelations could shake Hollywood even harder. Every new leak, every newly released voice note, and every disgruntled ex-associate stepping out of the shadows adds to the drama. And we're watching it unfold in real time, like the ultimate behind-the-scenes thriller. One thing's clear, Blake Lively's own lawyer spoke out and walked away, leaving a scandal so toxic, it might just become a cautionary tale in Tinseltown for years to come.